Hello, welcome to the Sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Modern Open in Indianapolis, part of the SCG Tour, brought to you by Ultimate Guard. I'm Nick Miller alongside Todd Stevens. Todd, Modern Guru, I'm starting to think to tag you as. You're constantly kind of bringing new decks to the table or tweaking existing decks. And something you've been doing on stream and writing about the last couple of weeks is this Eldrazi Tron deck. Now, last week in Baltimore, in part of the Team Open and the Classics, you just went on a crazy run with the deck.
Yeah.
What was your record?
So I went 16-0 in the Swiss, and I won 3 die rolls in the Swiss also, so I was just always on the draw. And then in the top 8 of the Classic, I won the quarterfinals and then lost in the semifinals for the first loss of the weekend to finish 17-1 on the weekend.
All right, so not a bad run.
No, not at all.
You're running the deck back again this week in the Modern Open. All right, so there's the question. Why Eldrazi Tron over the other Tron decks?
I like Eldrazi Tron over the other Tron decks because you have things to do early in the game, and it's a lot harder to disrupt. Other Tron decks, everybody has Ghost Quarters or Crumble to Dust or just ways, Fulminator Mages, things they're trying to do to blow up your lands, and you can have games where you just can't cast spells because you have draw the wrong part of your deck. You draw all your top end or all your low end. Eldrazi Tron has the same really high-end draws, but it also has a lot higher floor and can play a nice, normal mid-range game as well.
Right, you got a lot of things you can do, 2, 3, 4, along the curve. You have Mind Stone here, and then you have your Eldrazi that you come to expect from Matter Reshaper, Thought-Knot or Reality Smasher.
Right.
And then you kind of have some higher-end stuff, which we'll go over as well. But you also get new additions, from Aether Revolt. You have all format all-star at this point. Yeah. Walking Ballista, tagging up with Basilisk Collar.
Yeah, Walking Ballista has just been one of the best cards in the deck, if not the best card in the deck. Being able to team it up with Basilisk Collar does seem cute, but it's good enough that it's definitely worth playing Collars in the main also to go with Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista is just a nice turn 2 play if you need to take out a Dark Confidant or a Noble Hierarch or anything like that to slow your opponent down, but then also at the top end, it's the best thing you can draw late game.
Right, being able to spend all your mana for a 6/6 creature or something absurd, and then just burning them out is pretty nice.
Yes.
Plus Basilisk Collar combos with it to shoot down anything. Also, Endbringer, your other Basilisk Collar wearer of choice, I would imagine. I don't know if that thing has a neck, but it probably goes on there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Endbringer usually is, if you can get that set up, that's always amazing also. But I usually use Endbringer as like a personal JM Day Tomb. That's that card, right?
Correct.
That's a little before my time. Yeah, but yeah, just draw a card, and you can even do it on both turns, I guess. So I love it.
So you have your card advantage, and you're kind of shoot down any creature all in one.
Right.
Then your big game here, we're used to seeing Karn, Ulamog, this kind of stuff in the Tron decks. You only have a couple of copies of Karn, but you also have All Is Dust as kind of your big end payoff.
Yeah, All Is Dust is a card that a lot of people don't necessarily play, especially in the main deck, because there are a lot of decks where it's dead. If you're playing any kind of Tron Mirror, any other Eldrazi decks, Lantern, Storm, Affinity. Sometimes you got to take out that Vault Scourge, but there's a lot of times All Is Dust just doesn't do much. But the decks that it's good against, it's just amazing. Any kind of 3-color mid-range Tarmogoyf deck or Elves, stuff like that, All Is Dust can just end the game on the spot.
Right, and you kind of play this style of deck for those matchups where you're just a huge favorite. All these 3-color decks, all these mid-range decks.
Right.
This is why you bring this deck to the table?
Yep, I like having just some number of just basically 100-0 matchups. So I like just with Modern, you could have, you could run into anything. And I like to have some matchups where I just know I'm going to win right away. I know my main deck's going to be good enough to be able to win 2 games in a row.
And unlike the Tron decks where they're trying to play 2 colors, green and whatever splash color they want these days, you're just colorless across the board. So you get to play Ghost Quarter and Tech Edge in your main deck to kind of give you the edge in these types of matchups.
Yeah, it's pretty necessary to have the land destruction against other Tron decks because the other Tron decks are so good at setting up Tron, and also their payoff cards are so good that you have to be able to disrupt them. And so I can have an early game also, but then I can use these utility lands to help disrupt the other Tron decks.
Okay. Was there any Eldrazi or any other cards you were toying with? I know you upped your copies of Mind Stone in this build from last week. Anything else that didn't quite make the cut for the main deck that you wanted in here?
I guess Ulamog is one that I'd like to have because it's great to have like a really high impactful, high end card that is just great against everybody. But Walking Ballista is basically the new Ulamog because you can still play it on 10 and it's still going to get the job done.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yep.
You're not exiling all their cards from their deck, but
right.
Having a massive creature that can shoot them down is pretty good. Sideboard here, pretty concise. You have 4 copies of both Chalice and Surgical Extraction. These cards just, when you need them, you need them.
Yeah, Surgical is one that a lot of people only play 2 or 3. I want to have a great Tron matchup post board because I think the game 1 is really hard to be able to beat other Tron decks, and so I'll have the Surgical to go with the 4 Ghost Quarters and the 1 Tech Edge to be able to take out one of their Tron pieces out of their deck, make them a whole lot more fair, and so that's my main reason to have Surgical. It's also really the best way that I found to be able to beat Valakut is to be able to Ghost Quarter Valakut away and Surgical it. It's not a good plan at all because they don't have to have their Valakuts out early. They can just find them with their Primeval Titans when they're killing you. I've tried stuff like Mindslaver to be able to take their turn like right before they kill you. Tried like Jester's Cap to try to take some Valakuts out of their deck. There's not really any good options, but I just want to load up on Surgicals because for those 2 matchups that I really wanted, I want it bad.
Okay. Chalice just kind of shuts down certain decks.
Yeah, Chalice I kind of need versus Burn. Burn's a pretty tough matchup. Really want to set Chalice on 2 against them because they'll have all the destructive revelries. It's also good against some Storm decks and random stuff, maybe ad nauseum things. It's there. I don't like it. I've been trying to take it out, but it's just necessary.
Sure. Notably, you don't really have Wormcoil Engine like most of the other Tron decks against Burn, so you do kind of need these extra tools. You also have a Batterskull in the sideboard here for that matchup.
Yeah, I had the Batterskull in the main deck last weekend. I took it out for a 4th Mind Stone because I just think Mind Stone is such an important bridge card for the deck. And so I still wanted the life gain, though, available in the 75, basically just mostly for Burn, and so I have the Batterskull there. Sure. Over the Spell Scout I played last weekend for the same reason, for Burn.
A couple other cards, Pithing Needle, Crucible, Relic, and the Ratchet Bomb here, you kind of your catch-alls.
Yep, Crucible comes in like with whenever I'm just might have a plan of land destruction, or I think I'm going to face a lot of Fulminator Mages or people blowing up my lands. That's what Crucible's for. Pithing Needle is just kind of a catch-all. Everything could be anything from Lantern Insight to Inkmoth Nexus to Oblivion Stone, just kind of a catch-all there. To Eldrazi Displacer and Drowner of Hope are difficult to stop. Sure. It's good there. I'm playing 2 relics this week that I did not have last week, basically only because of Death Shadow. Right. I want just some more in that matchup. I don't think I'm favored against Death Shadow. One thing with that matchup that I've learned that if I have an early Walking Ballista or Matter Reshaper, just not to attack ever, and wait for them to get down to a low enough life total I can do all the damage in 1 turn.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask, Death Shadow is the deck of the tournament this week, dominated last week at the Grand Prix. I have to imagine your deck building considerations kind of went in with this choice and what's kind of what transpired last weekend. Yeah,
and I have a lot in the sideboard for it, like the Chalice of the Voids are pretty good, but I've never played a Chalice of the Void against them that they didn't immediately destroy the Call Against Command. They just always, they have 2 of those in their deck and always have it. Ratchet Bomb can help out in that matchup too, even though it's pretty slow and they can again destroy it. They're bringing in Ancient Grudges. I know Jared's even thinking about playing a Reclamation Sage, a Abrupt Decay. They're just trying to destroy all my artifacts, and I don't like that. But it's a tough matchup, but it's one that we can win. All His Dust is an all-star there, and that's another reason why I like to have that in the main.
All right, having a matchup you can win when it's probably the most popular deck in the room, not a bad thing. Yep. You had a great run last week. We'll see if you can do it again this week. You got your first round off your buys, but it's going to be hard to top your record last week. I think if you do, though, you'll be walking out here with a trophy. So
that would be amazing. It would be my first one. That would be great.
Well, Todd, thanks for joining me here in the sideboard.
Thank you, Nick.
We wish you the best of luck. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all week long for the action here in Indianapolis.